Hello Mercurial Mercenaries, vlog 22? Just trying to mess around with some song ideas today while I was watching Wimbledon. Just a couple of ideas, got them down on tape so that I'll never come back to this video and that song will never exist. But just for a second, just for a momentary glance, it happened. Yeah, so I'm wearing this shirt again, and I like this shirt. I do like this shirt, but this is a true story. I went out today and I had a bit of breakfast and I went out to the seafront. And I was sitting there, and someone says to me, Mercurial number 6, I'm not trying to alarm you now. Stay still, stay very still. But there's a huge bee sitting on your arm. So I'm naturally inclined to go, ah! Like that, but I didn't. I just looked down here, and yes, there was a massive, like this big, honeybee, it looked like, just sitting here. And it was looking around. And it had its little feelers out and it was looking around. And I looked down and I'm like, oh my God, if that was a wasp, I'd go bloody mental. But it was a bee, and I like bees. Bees don't harm anybody. But it was sitting there. And I'm thinking, ooh, I don't know what to do now. And then she says to me, don't worry, just sit there, it will fly away. It will fly away. And I'm looking down and I'm thinking, it's not gonna, because it thinks that I'm a field of flowers. It thinks I'm a bloody field of flowers. And it's just sitting there. And it walks around a little bit, looking at my shirt, and then it does eventually fly off. But the bee thought that I was a field of flowers. So, and this is on the seafront. Now imagine if I was wearing this shirt in the countryside. Hey? I haven't thought this purchase through, have I? I was watching a video that Duncan put out yesterday where he mentioned the new Epiphone guitars. $99 guitars. The thing is, if they ever come over here, they'll still be 99 quid. So the Americans always get a better deal than us Brits. Anyway, there was a few comments saying that these guitars are ugly, but is it wrong that I think those guitars are beautiful? The yellow one especially, that yellow Epiphone Les Paul $99 thing, the yellow one. How beautiful is that? I really like it. And if they ever happen, I'll probably get one. In the old days, do you know what I'd have done? I put this comment on Duncan's site, but in the old days, that's not being subliminal. That's just me scratching my eye, right? Trying to get the sleep out, right? In the old days, I probably would have bought one of those Epiphones, maybe 5 of them. And I would have just smashed them up at the end of a few gigs. What the hell? $99? It's worth it for there's so many people who are against smashing up guitars because they think it's a complete waste of time. You've got people in the world starving and you've got people smashing guitars up. But I've said this before about how I think, and I know some of you disagree with this, but how I think performances, gigs are about performance as well as the music. And we could argue about this all day, but I think they are. And if I saw someone play a gig, the whole gig right through with a beautiful yellow guitar, and at the end of it, smash the living shit out of it, I'd be like, I'd remember that gig. That's the thing, I'd remember that. That's the thing, I'd remember that gig. forevermore. For good or for bad, I'd remember that gig. And that's what you need. You need people to remember you. No one remembers anything anymore. I think I've got an eyelash in my eye now. But no one remembers anything. You know, do that thing, you've got to do that. And then pull that top lid over the bottom lid and then open your eye. And you just hope that, you know. No one remembers anything anymore. Everything's so mundane. And Epiphones. No one wants to own an Epiphone, do they? Everyone wants to own a Gibson. But just remember, I watched Supersonic last night, which, if you haven't seen it, is a brilliant documentary about Oasis. Now, in this country, Oasis were, whether you like it or not, one of the biggest bands of the 90s. If not the biggest band, because of Nebworth. And whether you like them or not, you need to track down the documentary Supersonic and watch it. It's such an interesting watch. It really is. And the guitarist of Oasis, Noel Gallagher, even at the height of their fame, was playing Epiphones. And that's nice to see. And also, never forget, the sound of the Beatles was Epiphone Casino. The sound of Sergeant Pepper is Epiphone. Nothing wrong with owning an Epiphone. So bring it on, Epiphone. Bring on the $99 Epiphone. Because I'm all yours. I'm here for the taking. You can take me to your weird-shaped headstock leader. Take me to your weird headstock there, leader.
Yes.
Spoilers now. Wimbledon spoilers. So if you haven't seen the Wimbledon result and you don't want to know it, you want to watch it on catch up or something, switch off now. Roger Federer won Wimbledon today for a record-breaking, I think, 8th time. I wanted him to win. And do you know why I wanted him to win? It was no disrespect to the other guy, but Roger Federer is 35 years old. And although by most standards, as you get older, 35 isn't old, in terms of sport, and especially tennis, it's old. And now that we live in an age where youth wins and beats everything, if you're entering Pop Idol or American Idol, or you're a singer of a band of any sort, if you're in a band, you need to be in your teens. If you're out of your teens, you're considered old. Even in the old days, you had your Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplins, and your Kurt Cobains, and your Jim Morrison's dying at 27. Do you see the state of Jim Morrison at 27? All he'd been through in his life and how he looked at the end. Great big fat bloke. 27. But now it's worse than ever. Now, if you're over 17, you're considered old. If you're into sport, if you're in football, got to retire in your mid-20s, make all the money you can and retire. Roger Federer just won Wimbledon at the age of 35. The greatest tennis player of all time. And he's 35. And he could still carry on and he could still enter again next year and he could win it again. He is doing this for age. I know he's still only 35, but I like people who are... I wish Venus Williams had won as well, just for the same reason. But never mind. Roger Federer, I doff my old hat to you, sir. Doctor Who spoilers. If you don't know who the new Doctor Who is, and you don't want to know, switch off now. Okay, the rest of you. Doctor Who, it's an institution in this country. I don't think the Americans have necessarily even heard of it, but over here, it's an institution. It certainly was in my youth. I've always been a fan of Doctor Who. The more recent series, I can take or leave them, but historically, I can just talk you through them. It started in the 60s. You had William Hartnell, then you had Patrick Troughton, then you had John Pertwee, then you had Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, Paul McGann, Christopher Ecclestone, David Tennant, Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi. You also had John Hurt, for a little while, but the 13th Doctor was announced today. This is the interesting one, right? What was the common factor through all the names I just mentioned? They're all men, yeah? Doctor Who is a man, right? However, the new Doctor is Jodie Whittaker, a hot woman. Now, this will cause fanboy outrage, and I can kind of see why, because people say, why can't, if he's a Time Lord, basically, right, let's just boil down for people who don't know who Doctor Who is. Doctor Who, right, let's boil it down to a couple of sentences. It's like a sci-fi thing, and in the universe, there's a planet somewhere called Gallifrey. It's a planet. And on this planet, the Time Lords live. And the Time Lords are like an all-knowing, all-powerful race that have existed forever. And they kind of control the universe in some respects. And these Time Lords, when they die, they regenerate. Like a kind of, what do you call it? We've got a religion that does that sort of thing here. Reincarnation, right? The way I said carnation, it sounded like evaporated milk. Reincarnation, but it's that sort of thing. But when they die, they just the body transforms into someone new and they start again afresh. And so far, the Doctor, because that's this guy's name, he's the Doctor, he's done this 12 times or whatever. And so this 13th time, he's always been a man because he is a man. This 13th time, when he dies, he's going to become a woman. Now, the problem with this is, then there are problems with this. If I've been living for, say, I think he's lived for a couple of thousand years now, through his different guises. If I've been going around saving the universe from the Daleks and the Cybermen and all the various creatures, all the various monsters, the monster per week of Doctor Who since the mid-60s, once I transform into a woman, and I'm now just lying in my TARDIS, fondling my breasts and frapping myself off forevermore for the rest of time, how's he going to go on any adventures and kill any beasts if he's just trying to lick his own nipple, her own nipple? They haven't thought it through. But no, seriously, I've come around to the idea now. And the fact is that I'll probably watch more avidly than I did before, because now I've got a hot woman to watch every week. Because the Doctor is now a hot woman. And why not? Why not? Yeah. Why not? It might be good. I look forward to it. I can embrace new music, new guitars, new TV shows. I can embrace new. And lastly, I mentioned photography in my last video. I don't know what to do with that subject really, but a few people asked me what camera equipment I've got. And rather than go there at all, I would say, perhaps I'm coming from a different place to you guys, because I would say that the best camera is the one in your hand. Because photography is all about moments in time, capturing moments in time. And when you need to capture a moment, you've never got a bloody digital SLR on you, have you? Or a Mamiya, or 120, 35mm, whatever. You've never got anything like that on you when you need it, have you? You've always got your phone. You've always got your phone. Does that mean that a photograph taken with a phone is no good? The best camera is the one that's in your hand. I'm going to go with that. I didn't come up with that phrase. Someone else came up with that phrase, but I'm running with it. The best camera is the one you've got on you at the time that you need it. Whatever it may be. I've got a few different cameras, but At the moment, the Samsung S7 does me just fine. And it's not even about the camera, is it? And you guys know this. It is 99% about the moment that you're capturing. And also, that 1% you're left with encompasses the framing of the shot, the choice of what you want to do, and then thinking about the lighting and all the other stuff. But the moment and the choice of frame screw the camera up the arse. I probably had more to say, but I think we'll go with that. Thank you, my mercenaries. Over and... Oh, thank you very much, everybody, for joining in. I haven't quite finished commenting on everyone's comments yet, but thanks, everyone, for joining in with the shake my bollocks thing. That was really, it was really good to see. And you're all a bunch of good sports. You are all a bunch of gunch. You're all a gunch of bud sport. You're all a gunch of bud sports. All of you. All of you. All of you. You know who you are. And I watch all your vlogs back. Even those of you who haphazardly number them as a piss take. And still manage to play some of the most sublime guitar I have still ever heard in my life. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody. Ed Dana, your last video with the drummer standing in for your band. Fantastic. Fantastic. Duncan, carry on walking around London. It's brilliant. Fishy Paw. Fishy Paw. I like where you're going with the jokes. You're a talented man. Everybody. Everybody. Over and out.